Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you've been here for a while, you know I've gone pretty deep with n8n. So from tutorials and automations to building full AI agents. And as someone who comes from a product and automation background and not from a full-time DevOps role, n8n has definitely been such a refreshing platform for me. It's flexible, the visuals are good. It just clicks for people who want to automate without heavy coding. Recently, someone asked me what plan I use for n8n, and since I'm currently self-hosting, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to talk about whether you should self-host or you should go cloud. So when I started, I used the cloud version. To be honest, everything worked. It was smooth. Then my free trial ended, and like most solo creators and solo builders trying to save cost, I thought, why not self-host? It's open source and it's free. So I did. I went ahead, and after several months of managing my own instance, I've learned a lot. Some of them are good and some of them have not been fun at all. So today I'll break down my real experience, the pros, the cons of both, and where I stand now. So one thing I want to make clear is that self-hosting isn't really free. Let's start with cost. So n8n itself has an open source version, but running it isn't entirely free. At first, I thought I'll just deploy it on my existing shared hosting plan with SiteGround. No, shared hosting doesn't give you enough control for background jobs or persistent containers. So when that didn't work, I moved on to AWS thinking there's a free tier and I'll be fine. Well, spoiler alert, I wasn't. Between elastic IPs, persistence volume monitoring, all these little add-ons, they start to cost money. And by mid-month, my free setup was costing me around 8 to 10 bucks, plus the time investment I had to put in. And that's the part people forget. The time is a hidden cost, okay? So you're not directly paying money to n8n, but you're paying with the hours you spend on maintaining that self-hosted instance. The second thing that hit me quick was the setup and maintenance and the time it took to do that. Now, so getting n8n running took days for me between Docker setup, port configuration, SSL, and the weird dependency issues. For me, it felt like I was enrolled in a mini DevOps bootcamp. I had moments where I broke my entire setup just from updating a node or rebuilding a container. I mean, it was a fantastic learning experience, don't get me wrong, but it can really kill your momentum, especially if all you want to do is build automations and not servers. And as new versions of n8n rolled out, I found myself constantly fixing minor incompatibilities. You should know that if you decide to self-host, you handle everything. So updates, patches, security, backups, they are all on you. No one is going to do it for you. So at one point, every upgrade I did wipe out my data clean. I was literally afraid to update for weeks. I have fixed that issue now with regular backups and volume mapping, but it was still manual work and it's still manual work for me today. So yes, you might save money, but you spend it in your time, the attention, and the stress of it all. You should know that cloud users never even have to think about these things. All they have to do is wake up, open n8n, and then they'll see new features, okay? Now, the other thing I want to touch on has to do with like custom installations. So I once needed to install FFmpeg for a video automation workflow. And it sounded very simple on paper, okay? But not when you're self-hosted. Because rebuilding the Docker container, it broke my workflows. I had to re-import everything, reconfigure credentials, and test every flow manually again. So if you are someone like me who experiments a lot, then this can get exhausting really fast. And again, it can demotivate you from doing a lot of experimenting as well. There's also the FOMO behind everything, the fear of missing out on new features and updates. Even though I'm up to date now, self-hosting means you choose when you upgrade, okay? And that means you can miss out on new features or nodes that cloud users they get automatically. So every time n8n drops an update, I'm like, cool, but can I safely install this without breaking my setup? That hesitation, it adds friction, and sometimes you just fall behind, honestly. So just know that if you are self-hosting, all these are things you manage as well. Another thing to think about is security and scaling risk. So another big one that doesn't get talked about enough within those self-hosting n8n is security. And when you self-host, you're actually responsible for keeping your instance secure, the firewalls, SSL, certificates, access tokens, all of that. And if you have clients, you have to take that into account as well. If you're running multiple workflows with sensitive data or client automations, you really don't want to skip security updates or misconfigure ports, because that can cost you a lot and it can cost your clients their reputation as well. And as you scale, things like uptime, server monitoring, and load balancing become actual concerns. And the cloud handles this seamlessly, because you need to quote your SLAs to your clients and you want to make sure that everything is up to date, everything is running all the time. Now, a quick note on n8n's new pricing model. I know it stirred mixed reactions. Some people feel like the jump from the free to the paid tiers are steep. Others also argue it's fair given how powerful the tool has become. Personally, I get both sides. I mean, for casual builders, it feels expensive, but for professionals who are automating business workflows, it's still a bargain compared to like other enterprise tools we see around or other competitors of n8n. So where do I stand now? Well, to be honest, I actually love self-hosting. It's giving me a deeper understanding of how n8n works under the hood, because sometimes it's good to see that side of automation as well. But the long term, I probably will move back to the cloud version, because at this stage, I want to spend my time building automations. I love building automations so much, and I don't see myself managing infrastructure. I don't really want to be a DevOps engineer at this point. So this is what I'll say. If you're getting started and you are a newbie, you're not technical, I'll say go cloud first, learn the tool. Then once you become a pro and expert, you self-host, especially if you need that flexibility and the control. Because for people who build automations, the goal isn't to be the best server admin out there, it's to automate more and faster. This is really my take. What about you? Are you self-hosting? Are you using the cloud version? Do you have any challenges with your self-hosting instance? What stack do you have right now? If you're cloud hosting as well, like what's the challenge you have with that? Do you want to come back to the self-hosted version as well? And if you're just getting started with n8n, then you'd want to watch my last video, because I go step by step and I teach how you can get started with building your first AI agent in n8n. Also, you can join my school community. I share exclusive behind the scenes, I share tutorials, and you'd have access to all my templates. So any tutorial you see on my channel, you'd have access to those templates as well. And you'd have access to all of those for free. So you can join my school community as well. And then finally, if you're watching this video, you found it helpful, then why don't you subscribe to my channel? Share this so that other people can see it, because I know how it is like trying to find information. And who knows, maybe a few months down the line, I may have migrated everything to the cloud and I'll be back here to share my experience. But yeah, that is it for today's video. So thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you in the next one.